Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well and in good spirits. Um, I talk about justice a lot, and sometimes I feel like I don't get heard. And so, where I hear folks say that no one speaks up for us, it's always rubbed me the wrong way because I know a lot of people that have spoken up for us. And hopefully, this video is allowed under the Fair Use Act because I'm using it to teach about systemic racism to people who maybe haven't been convinced of it yet. I see um, blaming the victim like it's our fault that a lot of our communities suffer, and it's because no one speaks up, and that's not true. People do speak up. It's just that we're not listened to as much as other communities. And so with that, I want to use a video, and I'll put the link to it in the description, of an LA Times story they ran on the Exide battery plant in Vernon. And I hear people, Raza, say that no one speaks for us. And as mentioned, I don't like hearing that because I know these people that do, and I know people in this video actually, on all sides. And so let's go to the video, and I'll stop it periodically and then come back to share some thoughts. Okay, here we go. It's called Unsettled, Inside the Fight to Shut Down a Dangerous Polluter.
To call me Sunshine because I was always laughing or joking. The person that I was, she's been dead for a long time.
My vocation is to help people. My vocation is to bring people up. I could not live for 32 years if I didn't feel the goodness of the people. I remember asking friends, did you grow up feeling like your neighborhood was yours, like you had?
See, all those people there, they're speaking out for their people, for their neighborhood.
Hi, my name is Mark Lopez. This is my daughter Luna and my daughter Chole. We want Exide shut down.
Residents demanded that a controversial battery recycling plant be shut down.
Yeah, they claim Exide is contaminating the air and the ground.
Despite some improvements here at the plant, Exide has been caught once again spewing too much lead into the air.
Lead makes little kids have learning disabilities.
Industrial pollution for years.
Those are all little brown
Many neighborhoods
kids.
on the city's east side are within a few miles of
That's why they could get away with it.
Dangerous pollutants.
I don't know. You can blame the victim. I don't.
Residents have fought air pollution from Exide Technologies,
Who
a
lives
lead
there?
acid battery smelter that melts down used car batteries. The plant has operated in Vernon since 1922, and Exide took over the facility in 2000. Government emissions records reveal that Exide continually spewed cancer-causing arsenic, as well as lead, a powerful poison that can damage the brain and cause learning disabilities, developmental problems, and lower IQs.
Communities for a better environment.
Young children are most at risk, especially when playing outside where there's lead dust in the
I did
soil.
interview someone that retired from there.
Over 2 decades, the facility has racked up nearly 90 hazardous waste violations and has been cited over and over for emitting too much toxic air pollution. Exide declined to comment for this video.
They might have had
Exide
Mexican folks
knew
show up to
that they were
meetings and
polluting.
say that
Exide
Exide
knew
gave them
that they were
jobs and
putting
helped their family
arsenic
out.
and
They do
lead
that.
into our air.
These companies.
Fill up all the places, okay? See those spots right there? There you go. Okay, that's fine. They can sit right here, okay?
I used to
This
always be at those
expression,
meetings.
serial
They were always
polluters,
cool
it
people.
describes
Not
Exide.
these Exide
Why
ones
should
specifically, but
Exide,
other
a serial
ones.
polluter, be given the right of a permit?
And you know, Father, there is no such thing as environmental justice. Not for our people anyway.
Who's protecting us?
This has been my theme: protect the health and well-being of the people. And when they don't do that, they have to be called to task. And this is what's happening right now. They don't teach you about these things in the seminary. You know, there's no course to say that you're going to be out there and you're going to be in a community that's going to be neglected and be abused. They don't teach that.
Telling you.
That's our mandate. We are responsible for the well-being of people. And so if you see somebody getting sick, you have to do something about it. You cannot just remain quiet.
Except for that priest, I don't think I see anyone that wasn't Raza in this video. That's what got polluted.
I thought I was doing good. I thought I was being a good mother because I wanted them outside running around playing and being creative and healthy. Kick your butt on this game. Oh, you're in. I can't tell you how guilty I felt that I, although unknowingly, sent my kids to play out in toxic chemicals.
That's
I
why I
now
want to
look at
move.
every dust particle, you know, all dirt as, well, it is, basically, it's contaminated.
The California standard for lead in residential soil is 80 parts per million. Soil with lead above 1,000 parts per million is considered hazardous waste. In 2008, lead levels in the soil surrounding Exide were found to be 50 times the hazardous waste limit. In 2013, a report by air quality officials found that Exide's arsenic emissions posed a cancer risk to more than 100,000 people. The state tried to shut down the plant, but the company appealed in court, and the judge allowed it to reopen. It wasn't until later that year that state officials forced Exide to begin testing homes for lead contamination and pay for blood lead tests for residents.
It's like that in
The
Hunters
following
Point.
year, soil tests revealed lead pollution in neighborhoods, and health precautions were issued to the public.
Kettleman City had issues with birth defects.
Terry's brother, Joe, was diagnosed with melanoma in 2014. Terry and both of her kids are also sick. Although no concrete link has been established, she thinks their asthma and learning disabilities are linked to Exide.
In the beginning, I was afraid, and now I'm just frustrated, angry, and absolutely disappointed. You would think that priority one would be the residents and their health.
That's how I feel.
They still allow them to operate even after finding contamination.
And not just for my neighborhood, for theirs too. For black neighborhoods, every neighborhood this is happening to. Because of people of color.
Well, it's official. The Exide battery recycling plant in Vernon is closing down in a deal made with the Justice Department.
Late last night, my office finalized an agreement that will close the battery plant and will ensure that it never reopens.
Illegal disposal of hazardous waste to the ground at the facility. Illegal storage of hazardous waste at the facility. illegal transportation of hazardous waste through the neighborhoods, on the state's highways, and illegal transportation of hazardous waste to an unpermitted facility. And believe it or not, they admitted to doing that for at least 2 decades.
The agreement also calls for Exide to pay approximately $50 million to pay the cost of removing the facility, paying for the cleanup, and remediating the surrounding communities.
See that shit all day
Once
long.
Senior John Moretta, a tireless advocate for the people of the surrounding community, puts it this way.
For our Southeast Los Angeles, it's a breath of really fresh air.
Years ago, we were fighting Exide. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, last year, last month, last week, yesterday, we were fighting Exide. We were fighting Exide to make sure that our babies that are here, my own daughters that just turned 1 and 3, don't have to fight Exide in 20 years. That's why we fought Exide, because we know the damage that they've caused here in our communities. And now that Exide's down, it's DTSC's turn. DTSC is the government agency that has failed us for years, failed to protect us, allowed Exide to do what it's done to our community.
In 2012, we first acknowledged that our efforts to carry out our mission have sometimes been compromised by deficiencies in our technical processes and in our administrative processes as well. Those problems
They got a Mexican
certainly
lady in
do
charge now.
impact our efficiency, our
She's nice.
effectiveness, and our credibility.
The California Department of Toxic Substances Control was created in the 1980s to enforce hazardous waste laws and protect people and the environment from toxic chemicals. In recent years, the DTSC has been under fire from community activists, local officials, and state lawmakers for many problems, including lax oversight and enforcement of hazardous waste operations. Exide is a prime example. The state issued only 7 fines for dozens of hazardous waste violations over 15 years, while letting the facility operate without a full permit for 3 decades. The DTSC has shuffled through multiple directors. The current director, Barbara Lee, started at the end of 2014 and inherited the job of closing the plant and making amends to the community.
I want to underscore for you that I will continue and complete
She's not
the
there anymore.
systematic improvements that are already underway.
One time I went on a tour of Treasure Island, and there was these piles of dirt with fence around them, and the fences had tears in them. They had tarps on them, but the tarps were like half off, and it was windy and it was blowing. And on the fence, I kid you not, they had the symbol for like nuclear dust, because it used to be an army base or a military base of some sort. I seen where they had the missile silos too. And I remember getting asked by the tour guide what we would change if we could. And I said, man, someone needs to cover those up, because if I was a little kid, I'd be going up and down them on a bike. And they reported back 2 weeks later that the agency in charge did take care of it and they covered them up. But it's just kind of crazy that stuff like that happens. Hold on one moment. So I was saying, there's a lot of cities like that, but let's go back to the video.
Many of you
are very angry, and many of you have been harmed in a variety of ways. And I know that you feel that the department failed you. The department needed to act sooner, and we didn't. And I'm very sorry for that. For too many years, we did not listen well to you. I am here to listen to you today, and I hope you will be ready to take just one more step forward with us.
At this time, what we'd like to do is open it up for a dialogue. We ask that you really try to make comments that are constructive, okay?
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Modesta Carranza. Yo quiero saber quién va a pagar los biles médicos. ¿Es la responsabilidad de los padres?
And I want to know, that's what I want to know. I want to know who's going to pay for the medical bills. Is the parents' responsibility?
O supuestamente es responsabilidad de la compañía de Exide.
Or supposedly it's the responsibility of the Exide company.
I don't have an answer today about the funding for the health care. It was something I wanted to try to secure funding for, and I wasn't able to do it. But I haven't given up to see if there's a way we can do it.
Exide admitted to 2 decades of criminal conduct. Who specifically allowed for this to happen? At what point could this have been stopped? And who made those decisions? Where are they at? And so I want to ask if you're open to opening up the department to a criminal investigation, because we understand you're not responsible for what happened in the past. You're responsible moving forward. So we want to know who's responsible for everything that has happened to us up to this point.
He's a good advocate.
Mark, I don't have an answer for you about who's responsible for everything that happened.
The status quo.
You know,
is
it's
everybody.
Looking at the record.
It's everybody that knew and didn't say nothing because they wanted their career. They were ambitious. They were afraid to ruin their career by saying something. I'm not talking about the community folks who called it out. I'm talking about the other side that they're calling out. If everyone's silent, está cabrón.
There are things I can't explain, and the people who could explain them are no longer with the department. I think there were people who didn't act fast enough. They didn't do their job to the standard they should have done their job to. I don't think it's criminal. I think it's tragic for all of us.
It sounds criminal to me to know people are being polluted and to allow it.
Trying to do now is make sure going forward, everyone working for me is doing their job and doing it well.
We're not just going to move on. Okay, cool. Let's keep going with our lives. This history that we're currently living with, we're going to continue to live with. This is part of our community story.
That's right.
So I would like to see justice within the department be part of this story.
History is important, folks. If you don't know your history, you don't know where you're headed. See, this guy, he ain't gonna let his history go, because that would be letting the guilty parties off the hook, and the status will continue. And then if there's issues, guess what happens? That lady leaves and they put someone else in charge. Now no one's no longer accountable. And when it comes up again, guess what happens? That person leaves and they put someone else in charge. And those folks that leave, get removed, don't think they they go to the unemployment line. They just get rotated to running different agencies.
Okay, I hear you. Are you willing to let me think about what I can do?
The
People say no
urgency
one's
that we
speaking up
have
for
to
us.
resolve these
East
issues,
Yards is
a
speaking
lot of
up for you.
times it looks like frustration
Communities for a Better
because
Environment
it's
is
coming from a
speaking up
place
for
of
you.
love for our families. That's really where it's coming from.
CCAEG is speaking
We
up
don't
for
see
you.
that coming from agencies. We don't see that sense of urgency because this isn't where they stay.
All Positives
This isn't their
Possible is
families.
speaking up for you.
We're not ready to move on until the issue is resolved.
Back in 2013, the DTSC ordered Exide to begin testing.
Building Healthy Communities is speaking up for
two
you.
small areas closest to the plant. They later expanded testing to a wider area.
And many more.
Around 160 homes
Environmental
were
Health
tested by the
Coalition.
spring of 2015, and 76 were cleaned up. Some residents, including Terry, still don't know the results of their lead testing.
Do you know
Little
how
Manila is
extremely
speaking up for you.
nerve-wracking that is to have your soil sampled and to be as sick as all of our family is, and we don't know how bad our soil is? That, I mean, that it's torture.
So is it their fault? Is it the Raza's fault for not speaking up?
Results are in from
It sounds
soil
like they've been
samples taken from
speaking up.
neighborhoods near the now closed Exide battery recycling plant in Vernon. The Department of Toxic Substance Control found that a third of the samples tested were within the safe level, but 2/3 were above that, including Terry Cano's, whose soil tested above 1,000 parts per million. A healthy level is below 100.
A lot of the homes, or the majority of the homes, were tested at over 80 parts per million. Can you tell me what are some of the
Those are the
signs and
translators in
symptoms
the box.
and effects of long-term, low-level exposure?
People have headsets.
When it comes to soil, California, generally leads the country in trying to make sure that we have the most health protective levels when we're dealing with lead exposure. But it doesn't mean that if you've got 85 or if you've got 100, or even if you have 101 or something like that, that we're too worried that you're going to have a major health
Sorry,
problem.
my levels were in the thousands. So
Your blood levels were in the
no,
thousands?
our soil sample levels were
okay.
in the thousands. So are you saying that we really shouldn't be concerned about that? And that we can be living with no symptoms whatsoever?
No, I wouldn't say that at all. I'd say, like I said, when soil levels are, like 100, then no, I wouldn't be that concerned. If they're in the thousands, yes, that does need to be addressed.
Well,
We would consider that a priority.
So what symptoms and illnesses and ailments should we be looking?
Notice how his first instinct was to give you the positive side. Yeah, if they're low, you don't got to worry about it. And some people would let it go, but she persisted. Good for her.
For instead of dismissing?
Well, it all depends again on what your exposure is. So you can live around 1,000 and have a zero blood lead level, or you could live around 1,000 and you could have a high blood lead level. Now, when it comes to the symptoms, they're very different from person to person. Lead is a very, very silent poison. People don't really have a lot of symptoms before they develop very high lead levels. If your child does have symptoms, your child could have problems with learning, problems with memory, problems with behavior. Some people even develop high blood pressure from lead. Now, when you think about all those
Oh, don't worry about that. We'll just build more prisons for
things, I can also give you 206 other reasons why all those things can happen. So they're not specific to lead. It's not like lead causes one particular problem that nothing else causes. So that's where the difficulty is.
So not a totally reassuring answer, but did you feel like you were able to get the answer? Yes?
No.
I still have other questions. So I
Okay.
can wait.
All right, so let's go. Thank you. We'll come back to you.
Every community meeting that we have, same words, same questions go unanswered. We're a dumping ground. In our mind, we know what's caused our illnesses. My whole family's been living a nightmare.
Under the closing agreement struck with the federal government, Exide was not required to reimburse people who say the pollution made them sick. Multiple residents, including Terry, have filed lawsuits seeking damages. Although her soil levels are far above health standards, Terry's yard has yet to be cleaned.
We've been out there in the fight for a long time. It isn't just a fight over politics, it isn't a fight over money, it's a fight over people's lives. I look forward to it being a new day for the DTSC and a new day for our community. But we will be watching.
In August 2015, Barbara Lee announced a shocking new development.
We have preliminarily estimated the number of residential properties potentially affected could be 5,000 to 6,000 or as high as 9,000 to 10,000.
Wow.
The lead removal would be the largest cleanup of its kind in California, and it could end up costing hundreds of millions of dollars. Despite demands from county supervisors and community groups, there is no state investigation of the DTSC.
They're dumping toxic soil. And the Raza right there working with the wheelbarrows don't have masks.
We're not polar bears, we're not
get a big
whales or
burrito.
dolphins or trees. You know, we're not cute little penguins. No one's coming to save us. We need to fight for ourselves.
As long as they comply with the federal agreement, Exide avoids any criminal charges.
So anyways, I hope that provides more context and understanding for some of the arguments I make to show that systemic racism exists. You know, that factory was there since 1920. And the people probably thought it was job opportunities. Sometimes things are sold as that. There's a big warehouse near my house, and before it was made or created, there was already buildings there. You know, some guy came and pitched the idea and said, "Oh, we'll have some jobs for the at-risk youth," and that was good enough. Everybody was for it on that, and to me, that was kind of tokenism. And I don't know what else was on behind the scenes, but I said, you know, those jobs ain't careers, and once that goes in, now little kids can't ride their bikes around there because this is a truck route. The diesel particulate matter is going into their neighborhoods, which is the body. It's my neighborhood. You know, I live a light from the truck route. After a rain, the street is full of potholes because big rigs run on it all day, and the only other people that use those streets are pretty much Black, brown, Middle Eastern, and poor Asians. And you know, I think all the way to, like, man, a lot of these folks are the ones who can least afford to be paying for suspensions and new tires. And so I see everything, you know, I like, if I see potholes, I see racism in that. Although I have seen good neighborhoods with like potholes, but generally speaking, it's a lot worse out here. And so it's very insidious because you don't see it all the time. And I hope you enjoyed watching this, more importantly, I hope you learned something. I hope you gained a better understanding of other parts of our community, parts that are out there fighting for the community already and have been for decades. You know, they've been doing it for decades, and it's not an easy fight. Um, like I said, I know a lot of folks in that fight, and they're good people. So, you know, I wish them the best, and I hope folks can like find ways to support them without wanting anything in return, just because it's good for the community. And that said, I hope that everybody has a good night. I'll try to make another video like this if this one's allowed to go through without copyright issues. Again, I'm doing this under the Fair Use Act to teach and help illustrate the systemic racism that exists for you know, people that look like me. Good night. I will try to do another video like this, maybe on Logan Heights or some other community I'm aware of that has these same issues. Have a good night.